Screen's working good?
Yes, you are good to go.
Excellent. So let's go ahead and talk about a little bit about our company first, just so you can get a little insight here. So our motto is work simpler and easier. And it's not just a catchy motto, it's a lifestyle. Here you can see the 13 of us working simpler and easier last year at our retreat in Steamboat Springs. We have been developing GP add-ons since 1999, so that's over 1,000 years, I think. Okay, maybe not, but since last century, so that's a long time at least. We've also been solving complex pricing issues since 2005. Back in the GP days, when GP was running most of the show for a big ERP, we came up with this pricing solution that was built inside of the ERP. And it was kind of limited eventually just because of you're limited when you're inside the ERP. So we ended up pulling it out and creating Rockton Pricing Management, the ERP agnostic pricing solution. We'll dive into that a little bit more, but just a little bit more about our company too. We are virtually headquartered with employees in 7 states. So we span all across the United States. And of course, we have more than 5,000 companies and 100,000 end users using our products. And we appreciate every single one of you guys. So let's go ahead and take a look a little bit about what sort of problems we solve. So, Rockton Pricing Management. Do you need to layer different types of price calculations? Price calculations could be markup, discounts, commissions, tariffs, royalties, rebates, really anything that does or does not affect the price that you may need to track when a sales order is created. Are you managing multiple price lists? We see a lot of people who are handling their pricing outside of the ERP, doing it in things like Excel. And this often adds complexity, it adds different layers. And of course, when you are doing things away from the ERP, it can lead to two sources of truth or errors or different sort of issues there. And so we can help with that too. Having trouble with your rebates. We see a lot of people with complicated rebate structures. For example, one common one is the food industry. There's a lot of food industry distributors that sell at a loss and then they need to calculate complex rebates. And if they don't get that rebate accurate, they won't be profitable. And their profit percentage is often like 1%-ish. And so it's really critical for those types of businesses that rely on those rebates because without a functional rebate tool, you're not even going to be in the profit. So that's another great problem we solve. And just sometimes it takes forever to find the right pricing. It's all over the place. You have to ask multiple salespeople. It's not streamlined. You have different, just, it's all over the place, right? You need to find a centralized way to manage your pricing and make it simple and easy and maintainable, right? Because maybe your price lists are easy to manage today, but what about the end of the year when we update our prices? What about when we add new items? What about when we add new customers and vendors and all of that stuff? What are you going to do, right? The complexity is just going to add on. So let's talk about our engine. I'm not going to do a demo with you and bore you, so we're just going to show you this beautiful graphic right here. This is really basically a demo. This is how our engine works for you inside of any of your Sage products. We're going to be able to connect through an API. And what you're going to do is at most of the time at the order entry. So it's going to be like orders, quoting, and invoice, where you do that line entry. As you add those line items, the data that's there on that document is going to be sent over to our engine, including your customer and item, any units of measure, just because we can base really on anything, including units of measure, customer, date, quantity, location, salesperson, anything at all like that. You name it, we can use it to price. All of that data is then sent over to our engine really, really fast. This whole process takes about 20 milliseconds, which is about 10 times faster than the human eye can even detect. It's sent over to this engine, and virtually instantly, we spit out a price that was based on all this data you sent over. And that price includes your price adjustments. And remember, price adjustments could be anything that is affecting or not affecting the price, but basically the math that's happening, right? So discounts and markups, but also royalties, rebates, commissions, margins, etc. And also the general ledger accounts that these are tracked to. So at a high level, we're just a pricing calculation engine, but we also track those values to general ledger accounts. And so we're able to do anything that involves accruals, track a value when an order is placed and posted, and a 5% rebate on that order is tracked to your vendor rebate account for this vendor that sold that item, right? And This type of complexity is really, really easy for us to handle. It's bread and butter for our application. And so we can layer multiple complicated, dependent, conditional rebates, commissions, etc., and get all that complexity automated. And so you're always getting the right price for the right customer at the right time. There's no guesswork. You don't have to rely on your salespeople who have these prices in their head. You don't have to check an Excel spreadsheet, etc. Right? It's all just going to happen automatic behind the scenes. For your Sage product user, you're just going to use your order, invoice, and quote entry as normal, and it's just automatically going to populate that price field. Pretty sweet. Now, the thing about pricing is it's not really optional, right? It's profitable and you want to have strategy. And we're really all about building strategy. And so part of what happens when you buy Rockton Pricing Management is we're not like most products on the market. We are not an off-the-shelf pricing solution. We just simply are not. What we are is a pricing transformation process. The ability for our team with decades and decades of expertise in pricing and the best way to maintain these types of systems, the ability for our team to sit down with your team of pricers, salespeople, your CFO, everyone involved in the pricing process, and turn it into a buildable, maintainable solution that's going to serve your company for years and decades to come. And so we really welcome customers who are open to reevaluating the way they're doing things and really just want a better, simpler way to do that. And so when you're ready to deploy a strategy, that is really where we can step in. And our strategy can help us be predictably profitable, right? We always know we're going to be in the profit, especially when we separate and layer independent factors of pricing, right? Over here on the left, we see how many of you might be familiar with how we do pricing, right? Spreadsheet style. Here's an item, here's a cost, here's a margin. We're doing all these different cells, etc. Now, instead, what we can do is we can layer our independent factors and build up on those so that one of these layers changes, everything else automatically updates. And so we can have things like landed cost, where we start with our costs in the ERP, like Sage, and we add those landed costs, we add that freight, we add those taxes, we add those tariffs to come up with that. And then from there, we can then add everything else. We can also layer things like quantity breaks. If you want to do volume or tiered pricing, that's bread and butter for our application. Things like discounts and promotions, date driven, right? Super easy to set up. Customer loyalty tiers is another common one. Great strategy, also very easy to set up. We can break down into really any piece of data that you want to separate your customers, whether that's region, the amount of product they've purchased, just hand selecting them, totally up to you. And then, of course, any data on that document can be used to drive pricing. For example, we can base on shipping zones. So, like a ship to address on the document could drive pricing. Hey, if they're going to the West Coast, we're going to add 5% because our warehouse is located in New Jersey, etc. And then, of course, commissions and rebates. Because we can track any math to any general ledger account when an invoice, quote, or order is created, we handle things like commissions and rebates naturally. Because when that order is created, we just track that commission amount, not affecting the unit price, but tracking that amount to the general ledger. So, in summary, with Rockton Pricing Management, you can automate even the most complex pricing scenarios and calculations. We had a customer, or we have a customer, who is one of the largest auto parts distributors in the United States, and they had four full-time salespeople they were using to manually manage all these prices day in and day out. And our product, with a low monthly subscription price, replaced all four salaries in a matter of a couple months. And so those are the types of things that we can automate. Even when you're this giant company with a lot of different variation in the pricing, we can automate all that stuff. We can make it simple and easy to manage, even when it's complicated with the way you're doing it now. We can also do date-driven pricing with all your historical pricing tracked and archived. And so we can look back at historical data. We can price and give better deals to our customers who have bought more product in the past. We can look at the sales price we've given before and compare. And most importantly, we're always going to get the right price for the right customer at the right time. We can also easily set up and track all pricing changes. So managing that is a breeze, but we can also automate many tasks of that pricing management, even things like commodity pricing. So if you're pricing based on the price of copper, a seed price, the price of onions, oil, we've seen it all, and we can set up tools that go out and check the price of from whatever site you desire and pull that into Rockton and use that to price your commodity based items so that you're making sure you're always profitable when your costs are changing, even if it's daily or hourly or monthly or however often that is. And of course, now's a great time to let you know that we will integrate with any accounting or ERP system through an API connector. So, all of you Sage users, you are in luck. We have what you need if you have complicated pricing needs. We are the most flexible, multi-platform, multi-currency pricing solution you've ever used. So, that's basically my spiel for today. I'll go ahead and come back on camera here. But yeah, I appreciate you guys taking some time out to hear about our product.